the same frequency, and it's very special. And I mean, I live for moments like that.
Agreed. So, to kind of harken back, being that I know you had beginnings here in Phoenix, so we have a mutual friend that I actually work with now who kind of remembers the days when you were here. So, you always talk about how this is coming home, and you mentioned that previously. So, what makes like the Phoenix area so like nostalgic for you? Other than like,
yeah, I started off. I always talk about how I started off in the gay clubs. I started off as a break dancer, and then I started playing in top 40 clubs after, that kind of led me into top 40 clubs, and I got burnt out. And then I started playing in the gay clubs, and that's where I was really I felt like musically that's where I could play the music that I really was into, the more electronic stuff. And it was in Phoenix where I first started playing in gay clubs. And from there, I went into started playing in the rave scene and the rave clubs and there was a club called The Works in Scottsdale. And I always say that was home for me. I played there on opening night, and I played there to the very end when it closed. I played the last song, in the club when it closed, and it was just, we were just crying because we knew that it was something special that would never be recreated again. Especially because it was in Arizona, it was in Phoenix or Scottsdale, and something like that, it just doesn't, it just doesn't happen all the time in cities, like Phoenix or Scottsdale. And, so that's why it's very dear to me, because it was a community of people. We were all outcasts. Like, we didn't belong anywhere, it's like, we were into different type of music than anybody else in Arizona was into. We didn't belong it was just, we didn't belong anywhere except there. And, it was right before the internet really, became big. And now you can be an outcast and just be part of an outcast community on the internet. But in those days, if you were an outcast, you waited for Friday and Saturday night to go to the Works, and it was a whole experience. And those days were just, like I said, it was so special. It was days of innocence. The cool thing is I'll travel all over the world, and I still get people coming up to me and go, I used to go to the Works, San Francisco, London, Paris, you name it. People have come up to me and said, I used to go to the Works. And you're just like, wow, it was a special time. So, like I said, I always refer to Phoenix as, Arizona as home, because during those days is when I really found myself, when I had the opportunity to really kind of, I guess, create or kind of carve out my sound, what it is that musically I was really into. And, I built up a good knowledge of what it is that I wanted to do. But I had to move to London, to kind of do a pilgrimage, cause that's where all the music was coming from. That's where all the artists were. So I moved to London for 2 years, right from Arizona, and kind of submerged myself into the music scene in London, before moving back to the U.S. and moving to Miami. If it wasn't for Arizona, if it wasn't for the Works, if it wasn't for that community of outcasts that I was so happily part of, I don't think I would be the artist that I am today.
And well, that's interesting to hear, because a lot of people are like, Arizona, why would you find yourself in Arizona? But it just, it happened the way it did. So when you went to London and you found your sound a little bit more, is it because like Europe and London was more progressive in embracing the music, and because?
No, you know what it was? It's when you're in the music scene, one thing that you realize is when you hear something and it inspires you, it's usually 6 months too late. Because, somebody makes something that's like, wow, oh my God, amazing. It takes like 6 months or so before the song is actually released. and maybe even a few more months after that before it saturates into the public. So I needed to be somewhere where everything was happening right then. I almost needed to fast forward 6 months. And that was really, you had to be in London. You had to be part of that community and hear everything as it was happening, to really be able to kind of, to be part of it, and, I always wanted to succeed and make it, in Arizona, out of Arizona. You know what I mean? Like, live in Arizona and succeed. But I think it was just at that time, like I said, the internet hadn't, really blown up yet. Nowadays, you can be anywhere in the world, but back in those days, you had to be, it was London was the capital. You had to be in London, to kind of catch that lightning. Or at least, be part of that and to really understand and be part of the trailblazers, of the EDM scene back then. So it was a sacrifice. I had to do it. Like I said, I wish I would have been able to stay in Arizona and, in a perfect world, it would have been, I would have been able to stay there, but, I had to go and make this pilgrimage.
Well, it makes sense. I'm not saying that you had to stay. I was just curious,
No. But trust me, it's like whenever I go back to Arizona, it's special for me. It was a special place. And I think, what it is, when you're part of a community, that was the hardest thing, was just, I had so many friends in Arizona, and, just leaving it all behind, that's the part that's difficult. And it doesn't matter where. You could be in Phoenix, Scottsdale, Mesa, or you could be in Tucson or Flagstaff, whatever. It's when you are in an inspiring social circle, and for whatever reason you have to leave, it's hard. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you are. It's that's your social circle. That is your foundation. And I think that was, that's why Arizona is special is really special to me, because that's a foundation. And I hear so many people telling me, go. And it gave me the courage to do it. I knew that I had to do it, but I never wanted to do it. Finally, with my friends there and everything were pushing me, like, you got to do this. And, I did it.
Awesome. So, I know, you're crazy busy, like, you have gigs all the time, and you're making music, and you do what you do, but what keeps you, like, motivated? Because, like, sometimes I look at your schedule, and I'm like, I can't even, like, deal with my schedule.
I say this a lot. It's like, when you look at it from the outside, you shake your head and you go, whoa. But when you're in it, there's a rhythm to this lifestyle, there's a certain rhythm, and when you get used to that rhythm, it's very easy. I'm not going to say that it's easy, but, there are a lot of sacrifices. But once you make those sacrifices, once you understand that this is your calling, this is your purpose, and you have a strong foundation of people that are cheering you on, and telling you, you go on the road for a month, and when you come back, we're here, and we're gonna be waiting for you at the airport. When you have that, then you do it. You're not afraid to do it. I think the hardest thing is leaving your friends and everything, and realizing that life goes on without you there. You're on the road doing your thing, and your friends are doing their thing, and you hear stories about friends getting married, having kids, whatever, and it's difficult, but I wouldn't be able to do this with as much passion and drive as I do if I didn't have some of the most amazing friends who are there for me. And it's not just my friends, my family too. They are there for me and proud. So, that sense of pride, really kind of adds fuel.
Awesome. So I'm curious, I've been seeing some debates online about the EDM scene versus trance versus whatever. And I'm just curious as your thoughts, like, on the scene, because a lot of people are now trying to separate the genres from EDM, saying EDM is like the pop, like crazy popular stuff, as opposed to trance. And I've always been a trance fan. I've been a fan of you for years. So like, and the genre. So like, there's been some debate as to the negativity with the word EDM as opposed to like separating yourself into whatever is your favorite subgenre. So what are your thoughts on like EDM, just saying the word, like using EDM as to explain to
you know
people?
what? I think, and we all knew this was going to happen when EDM kind of blew up, you know? We knew that people were that was their gateway, and as they heard this music and got into it, they were going to get bored and they were going to look at what is there, what's the next level. Like, their palates are refined. And over the last few years, that's what really you've seen people's palates refine. People are smart about music to where they know when people are using the same sounds, the same stock sounds, and the people are now like they're almost insulted when somebody just kind of does a track in 30 minutes and paints it paint by numbers, and so from that I think there's frustration. Like, how can this song be popular, or how can it be so big when this is like an insult to my intelligence? I've been listening to EDM now for 2-3 years or longer for many of us, and now you're going to try and pass this off as something groundbreaking when all it is sample packs and preset sounds that anybody with a cracked version of Fruity Loops can make. And so you're starting to sense a little bit of I guess